The Facebook notification flickered like a cruel specter, a digital reminder of the vibrant life she had been cast out from, the family bonds that felt more like chains than connections. Emily, glowing in a meticulously captured engagement photo, shared a caption dripping with bittersweet gratitude for those who truly grasp the essence of family, a thin veil over the tumultuous emotions swirling beneath the surface. Sarah let out a heavy sigh, the sound escaping her like a whisper of defeat, a slow, painful release that echoed the turmoil within her heart. It struck her with the force of 1,000 unspoken words, a piercing blow that shattered the fragile peace they had tried to maintain. At 28, Sarah felt the weight of years spent in the shadow of her younger sister Emily, a burden that had become almost unbearable. In their family, Emily shone like a blazing sun, casting her radiant light upon everyone else, while Sarah and the others lingered in the shadows, mere distant planetoids, yearning for recognition, yet forever eclipsed by Emily's brilliance. Straight A's, cheerleading captain, prom queen, Emily had always been the shining star in her family's eyes. But beneath the surface of her seemingly perfect life, the weight of expectations loomed heavy. Early marriage, the dream of a flawless family with 2.5 kids in a white picket fence house by age 30. Each milestone felt like a chain binding her to a destiny she never chose. As the facade of perfection began to crack, the simmering tensions within her family threatened to erupt, revealing the emotional turmoil that lay hidden beneath the glittering exterior. Sarah, burdened by the weight of unfulfilled expectations, had always sensed she was merely a shadow of what her family desired, a mere placeholder, good enough to be acknowledged but never deserving of the cherished seal of acceptance. Good grades, a stable job, and a life devoid of trouble, these were the quiet achievements that earned only whispers of praise, yet never the spotlight. In the shadows of a family where accolades were currency, the weight of unrecognized effort hung heavy, breeding resentment and longing for acknowledgement that seemed forever out of reach. In a moment that felt like a thunderclap in the silence of their strained relationship, Emily, ever the enigma, turned to Sarah with an unexpected request. Sarah's heart raced with disbelief as the words hovered in the air, heavy with unspoken tension. How could the sister, who had always distanced herself, suddenly seek her out for such a personal role? The surprise was a bittersweet ache, a flicker of hope mingled with the weight of their unresolved conflicts. It was as if the warmth of sisterly love had been replaced by a cold audition, each moment heavy with unspoken tension and the weight of expectations. Yet, amidst the turmoil, a fragile glimmer of hope dared to emerge. Perhaps this was their moment, a fleeting opportunity to mend the rift that had long divided them, to reach across the abyss of unspoken words and buried resentments. Moreover, refusing Emily, defying their parents, was a catalyst for an explosion that could shatter their family into irreparable pieces. She reluctantly gave in, the weight of unspoken words and unresolved tensions hanging heavy in the air. But the wedding planning spiraled into a relentless battleground, where hopes clashed and dreams were overshadowed by a suffocating silence. The weight of the world descended upon Sarah, transforming her into a mere shadow in Emily's grand vision. She was compelled to manage every minute detail, frantically run endless errands, and relinquish her own dreams for the sake of a wedding that felt more like a battleground than a celebration. Then came the family bonding trip, a week-long pre-wedding getaway that loomed over us not as an invitation but as a demand, a call to arms that none of us could refuse. "It is absolutely necessary," Emily and her mother had insisted, their voices trembling with the weight of unspoken tensions, "for the sake of preserving what little harmony remains in this fractured family." That was the moment Sarah could no longer hold back. The moment everything changed. "I can't," she had declared, bracing herself for the tempest that was sure to follow. "I have a job. How could I possibly step away from my responsibilities at this time? The weight of being maid of honor hangs heavy on my shoulders, and the thought of stepping away feels like a betrayal to everyone counting on me. It's not just a week off. It's a fracture in our family ties, a moment that could unravel everything we've built together. I must prioritize my well-being, even amidst the chaos." The response was immediate and merciless. Her mother unleashed a torrent of words, each one laced with the weight of unspoken grievances. She spoke of Emily's most decisive moment as if it were a sacred rite, while casting Sarah into the shadows of inadequacy for her perceived failure to fully support her sister. The air crackled with tension as the notion of family hung heavily between them, a fragile thread threatening to snap under the strain of unyielding expectations and buried resentments. Emily, with a heart as cold as ice, mirrored her mother's words, each syllable laced with a venomous intent to wound deeply and leave scars that would never fade. "If you can't be here 100%, her mother declared, her voice slicing through the air like a knife, then perhaps your presence is a burden we can no longer bear." The words lingered in the air, piercing and unforgiving, like daggers aimed at the heart of a fractured family. Sarah's gaze flickered between her mother and Emily, a tempest of resentment crashing over her as years of suppressed frustration surged forth, demanding to be acknowledged. It was never merely about the wedding. It was a haunting echo of every moment she had been cast aside, every instance where her desires were trampled under the weight of Emily's demands. It was a lifetime spent in the shadows, yearning for recognition, aching for a connection that always seemed just out of reach. "Are you really saying that?" she exclaimed, her voice trembling with disbelief. "If I can't make it to the family bonding trip, I'm not welcome at the wedding?" With a voice trembling with unspoken pain, Sarah turned to Emily and their mother, her heart heavy as she declared, "I have a life of my own. My job is a significant burden." "Then so be it," Sarah declared, her voice quaking with a mix of fear and resolve, the weight of her family's expectations crashing down around her. "If my existence is merely a burden to you, then go ahead and enjoy your flawless family gathering in my absence." The aftermath unfolded with a ferocity that surpassed her darkest fears. Her parents exploded with fury, hurling accusations of drama and selfishness at her, their voices echoing with disappointment and betrayal. Emily's sobs echoed through the room, her voice trembling with anguish as she pointed a finger, accusing her of shattering the dream of her wedding. A relentless storm of guilt-laden messages and desperate phone calls from other family members descended upon her, imploring her to sacrifice for the sake of family peace. Each word dripped with the weight of unspoken tensions, igniting a firestorm of emotions within her heart. In the midst of the turmoil, it was only Aunt Carol, her mother's sister, who stood by Sarah's side, a lone beacon of support in a storm of familial betrayal. "From the moment Emily took her first breath, you have been cast aside, a shadow in the wake of her light." Her parents had effectively severed all ties, whispering accusations that she had abandoned Emily and igniting a firestorm of betrayal among the rest of the family. Emily, in a swift and ruthless move, had seized the opportunity to usurp her role as maid of honor, flaunting her betrayal with a series of passive-aggressive posts that cut deep, each word a dagger in the heart of their once unbreakable bond. Then, in a twist of fate that felt almost cruel, her parents shifted their stance, their voices laced with a tension that hung heavy in the air. In an instant, her absence became a chasm, tearing the family apart and casting a shadow that threatened to obliterate everything they once held dear. She found herself cornered, not just asked but demanded to attend the wedding, as if her presence could somehow mend the shattered pieces of their fractured family. The audacity of it all was astounding. They were blind to her pain, consumed by their fear of judgment, desperate to avoid the label of villains in this twisted family saga. With a surge of frustration, Sarah's fingers flew across her phone screen as she fired off a message to her mother, her heart pounding with the weight of unspoken words. "Mom, I refuse to bear the burden of mending the chaos you and Emily have woven together." In a moment of heart-wrenching resolve, she severed all ties, blocking them one by one, as if to shield herself from the pain that had become unbearable. That brings us back to the Facebook post, the ultimate betrayal that cut deeper than any wound. Sarah's gaze fixed on the screen, her heart a battleground of fury, sorrow, and an unexpected taste of freedom that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Then, another message appeared, shattering the fragile silence that hung in the air. It came from her Aunt Carol, the one who always seemed to understand, yet now felt like a stranger in the midst of turmoil. "Hold on tight, my dear." In that moment, when everything felt like it was unraveling, you made a choice that echoed through the silence of our fractured family. It was the right thing, but at what cost? The weight of your decision hangs heavy in the air, a reminder of the love and pain intertwined in our lives. Can we ever truly heal from this? In time, they will see the truth and return, but the wounds run deep, and the silence between us grows heavier with each passing day. And if they choose to walk away, perhaps it's a blessing in disguise, freeing you from the weight of their absence. Sarah forced a fragile smile, her heart heavy with unspoken words and unresolved tensions swirling around her. Aunt Carol stood as her sole beacon of hope amidst the chaos that had engulfed their family, a fragile alliance in a storm of betrayal and heartbreak. The following day, a haunting silence enveloped her phone, as if it too felt the weight of unspoken words and unresolved tensions that hung thick in the air. The guilt that hangs heavy in the air, the tear-streaked faces pleading for understanding, and the veiled jabs hidden behind the screens of social media must end. The time for silent suffering is over. It was a chilling sensation, a weight hanging in the air, thick with unspoken words and unresolved tensions. In a moment of desperation, she reached out to Aunt Carol, her voice trembling as she sought the wisdom that felt like a lifeline amidst the chaos of their fractured family. They're all caught up in the chaos of their pre-wedding family trip, lost in their worlds, Carol said, her voice heavy with unspoken tension. I can almost guarantee that once they all come back, the chaos will reignite. Later that day, a flurry of messages from her cousins pierced the silence, each ping echoing the unspoken tensions that simmered beneath the surface of their fractured family ties. They inquired about Sarah, their voices laced with concern, revealing the weight of unspoken tensions that hung in the air. It was as if her name alone could ignite the simmering conflict that had long been buried beneath the surface, a reminder of the fractures within the family that could never truly heal. Then her mother's other sister unleashed a heartfelt message, pleading that family disagreements shouldn't last forever, as if the weight of unresolved conflicts hung heavy in the air, threatening to tear them apart. In an instant, everything fell into place, igniting a storm of emotions that had long been buried beneath the surface. In a moment of piercing clarity, Sarah's heart raced as the truth crashed down upon her like a tidal wave, shattering the fragile peace that had held her family together for so long. They scrambled to mend the rifts, desperately attempting to shield themselves from the impending storm before the family reunited. A storm of emotions brewed after a tense conversation with Aunt Carol, as she hatched a plan that could change everything. As the wedding trip crew ascended into the sky, Sarah's fingers trembled with a mix of excitement and dread as she unleashed a mass text to every relative on her parents' side, knowing that the storm of emotions it would stir was inevitable. With trembling hands, she shared the damning screenshots, each one a piercing reminder of her parents' harsh words, the accusations that cut deep, the guilt-laden messages that suffocated her spirit, and the invitations, laced with conditions that felt more like shackles than gestures of love. She stood resolute, refusing to change a single word, her silence a heavy weight in the air, leaving her family in turmoil. They were desperate for understanding, but were met only with her unwavering stance. She felt a burning need to unveil the cruel words her parents had hurled at her, desperate for her relatives to witness the pain that had been inflicted upon her. Then she lingered in the silence, her heart heavy with unspoken words and unresolved tensions. The replies began as a mere whisper, a hesitant murmur in the shadows, but soon erupted into a cacophony, overwhelming and relentless, like a storm breaking loose, threatening to drown everything in its path. Some stood their ground, desperately holding onto the fragile threads of their beliefs, as the tension in the air thickened with unspoken accusations and simmering resentment. Amidst the turmoil, confusion reigned as hearts wavered, torn between conflicting truths and the weight of betrayal. Who could they trust when every whispered word felt like a dagger in the soul? To Sarah's astonishment, some voices rose in support, revealing long-held suspicions of the unfair favoritism that had torn their family apart. After years of silence, a cousin reached out, their words dripping with unspoken emotions and the weight of unresolved tensions. Sarah, I can't believe this is happening. I'm truly sorry. I had no idea of the burdens you've carried, the silent struggles that have weighed you down all this time. Your resolve shines brightly in the midst of turmoil. You must hold firm, for this battle is not just yours. It echoes through the very fabric of our family, stirring emotions that run deep and raw. How can we call ourselves a family when we tear each other apart like this? Another aunt penned a note. Your mother has always had a flair for the dramatic when it comes to Emily. I always felt a deep sorrow for you. You had to wear a mask of insignificance, as if your very existence was a burden. The following days unfolded like a tempest, each moment a clash of raw feelings and unspoken tensions. Sarah stood at the precipice of her past, grappling with the ghosts of family she had once cast aside. As she reached out, a tumultuous wave of emotions surged within her, igniting a fierce struggle for understanding and acceptance. Each new bond she forged was a fragile thread, woven from the raw fabric of honesty and the aching desire for mutual respect, yet fraught with the tension of unresolved conflicts that threatened to unravel everything. Yet she bore the weight of disdain from those who clung fiercely to her parents, hurling accusations of her being the one to ignite chaos and expose the family's darkest secrets for all to see. As the wedding day loomed ominously on the horizon, Sarah was engulfed by a tumultuous storm of emotions, battling the chaos within her family that threatened to unravel everything she had dreamed of. She had fought tooth and nail to assert her existence, to seize back the story that was rightfully hers, but the shadows of her family's expectations loomed large, threatening to swallow her whole. In the depths of her heart, she wrestled with the haunting question of whether her family had ever truly grasped the essence of who she was. Despite the turmoil and their disapproval, she fiercely clung to the conviction that she had made the right choice, even if it meant standing alone against their expectations. The week leading up to the wedding was tumultuous. The journey that would change everything was about to begin. The tension was so palpable that some family members completely overlooked packing their clothes for the trip, their minds ensnared in the chaos of Sarah's choices. The phone calls Sarah shared with Aunt Carol were the only glimmers of joy in a life overshadowed by turmoil and unspoken resentments. Whispers filled the air as they exchanged heated words about the turmoil surrounding the wedding trip, each accusation laced with unspoken resentment and buried secrets. This wedding is destined for chaos. Aunt Carol's laughter pierced through the phone, a sharp reminder of the tension simmering beneath the surface between her and Sarah. I can only imagine the turmoil they're feeling without your guiding hand to orchestrate it all. Carol was undeniably right. As the announcement of the wedding echoed through the air, Sarah stood frozen, a silent witness to the turmoil unfolding around her. In a whirlwind of emotions, the pictures appeared like fleeting memories, only to be snatched away in an instant, leaving behind a haunting silence that echoed the unresolved tensions within the family. Sarah stood motionless, her heart pounding, a wave of disbelief sweeping over her. How could this be happening? The weight of the moment pressed down on her, each breath a struggle as the reality of the situation shattered her world. She felt an insurmountable chasm between herself and her sister, a rift that would never allow them to truly understand one another. In the end, she stood alone, the weight of her decision heavy in the air, as the echoes of family turmoil reverberated in her heart. She didn't go to the wedding. Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her, but it was quickly overshadowed by the tension simmering beneath the surface. The air was thick with unspoken words and unresolved issues, each family member grappling with their own turmoil. As she glanced around the room, the weight of their unacknowledged conflicts hung heavy, leaving her heart aching for. But what do you truly think? Was it truly right for Sarah to hold her ground, knowing the storm it would unleash within the family? Or should she have swallowed her pride and donned the mask that everyone demanded of her? Have you ever found yourself torn between two paths, each one pulling at your heartstrings, each choice laden with the weight of family expectations and unspoken resentments? How do you handle such challenging situations? If Sarah truly erred by sharing those texts, what alternatives could she have made to avoid this turmoil? What choices would you have made differently? Let us delve into the depths of her choices and uncover whether this fractured family can find a way back to each other. Join us on this tumultuous journey and become part of our unfolding saga